Hello everyone, my name is Ivana Basrik and I'm a healer, a coach, but most of all I'm a spiritual development passionist. Passionist, is that a word? I'm passionate about spiritual development and um, very passionate about deep understanding of different dimensions of who we are and how to apply that spirituality and that knowledge in our everyday life and make more sense and understanding of our world and what it entails and why is it the way it is, so we could actually use that same material world in our life for the reason that it exists and for the reason that we came for here. And I was planning and thinking about starting my YouTube channel for a while now. However, I didn't do it before, but now with what happened in Kurch, with what happened in the country I'm from, and that is Croatia, which is a major earthquake. I wanted to talk about that a little bit more. To be more precise, I wanted to talk about the role of natural disasters and disaster and turmoil in general within spiritual and personal development. Why is that important? Why that happens? And how does it serve us? So I have to say I have a very long history with earthquakes, which is very interesting. Well, it's actually it's not so long. It's 3 years, but earthquakes played a very significant role in my transformative journey, which is very fascinating to me always. I experienced two major earthquakes in Bali in 2018, both over 6.0 by Richter. I don't know, I don't remember exactly the numbers. And then I experienced a major earthquake in Zagreb this year, or 2020. I don't know, maybe this video will be already published in 2021. I'm filming this on the 30th December, so in March 2020. And it was they say that it's the biggest earthquake in the last 140 years in Croatia and in Zagreb. And now, while I'm not in Croatia, I'm in Sweden. There was another major earthquake that, if you're from Europe, you probably know about it because it was felt in a large part of Europe. And what is interesting, I know two people personally from my inner circle, people that are very close to me, who are actually guided to Zagreb with their intuition, with the actions, sequence of events that happened, which made them be in Zagreb just in time for the earthquake. So they got there 2 or 3 days before, although they're originally from across Europe. And on the other hand, you have me, who I have been living in Zagreb until September this year, when I moved to Sweden, and I wasn't there. So I was very fascinated with, looking at these stories and understanding, well, why would that be orchestrated? Why is it important for these people to experience this, and why was it important for me to experience those three? Why didn't I experience this one, and so on? And so, I consider different things around transformative energy, and that maybe it's connected to the energy that is being released from the earth, because we naturally, a lot of energy gets released during the earthquake, and possibly it is connected to that too. But what I would say is the most important thing in not just the earthquake, but any kind of experience like that, is the spirit trying to get us to surrender. Because when we're put in a new situation, in a situation where we don't have the instructions on how to behave, where we don't know how to behave, where we don't have a practiced way of behaving, it's almost like we have no choice but to be present. To be more exact, we do have a choice, and those choices are either go into the mental world, into fears, replaying the fears, enhancing the trauma, making that experience more and more painful for ourselves, or we have the possibility to stay in the present moment and cope and deal with every single moment as it is coming up. And what happens, and what happens to me almost every time when I experience trauma, is that first I go into this direction where I feel down, or feel fearful, feel traumatized, and all of these things. But then at some point, because the stress is too great, I switch to presence. And with that switch to presence, I get fully in the now. And when you get fully in the now, you actually get connected to the grace, to that feeling of grace and serenity and peace that is in the now moment. So the reason why we will be seeing a lot of these kinds of events in the following time is because, as you probably know if you're watching this video, the world as a whole, the earth as a whole, humanity as a whole has a mission to ascend their vibration, to ascend our vibration. And the way that can be done the quickest, given where we are in our vibration right now, is through these kinds of shocking events that we have no reference for. Because why? Let me explain one thing. So why is it so easy for us, or why is it easier for us to stay present in those kinds of situations, is because we do not have the reference, the user manual, the instructions, the patterns, the programs in our subconscious mind that tell us how to behave in this kind of situation. So we can't lean back on the familiar, we can't lean back on what we have in our minds, we can't lean back on what we have in our psyche, what we do in most situations in our everyday life. And so we are left with very little choice of what we can actually do. So we need to reinvent ourselves. We need to write up that instruction manual for that situation. And the only way we can do that is by living moment by moment and reacting as the situation changes and as the situation requires us to react. And what happens there is something that is called immersion. And immersion and presence and grace are, for me, very, very much connected terms, because when we get immersed into experience, we get present. And when we get present, we have access to that grace behind the now moment. And so the reason why we can't immerse ourselves, or why it takes practice to immerse ourselves in our everyday lives, is because we have those manuals, those programs, those patterns in our subconscious mind that tell us how to behave in certain situations. And because we do have that, it's easy for us to just lean on that. And because of that, our mind puts like this lens, this glass between the experience and us, and we're looking at the experience through the lens of the mind, through our manual, through our program that is in the subconscious mind. And so a gap is created between us and the experience. And this is something that changes, and this is something that is bypassed in situations that require vigilance, that are not familiar to us, that are shocking, that are sudden. You just have no choice. I mean, I remember when I experienced this last earthquake, I immediately, I was in a lot of fear, of course, and shock and trauma, but my mind was working like this. I managed to pack a bag with everything that I needed in 10 minutes in midst of that panic. Remember to take the money out of the closet, to take the documents, to take the laptop, to take the headphones, everything that I needed was just coming to me, and I was just functioning with this high level of alertness, although I was scared out of my mind. And that is what shock or trauma or those kinds of situations can do for you. And this is why they're chosen often by spirit to try to push us, and open up that portal into the presence, into the now moment, into the grace. And when we do that, we're raising our vibration instantly. So I'm not saying, in these kinds of situations, there are people who will interpret that as, do not look at the suffering, do not look at the fear, do not feel compassion, and that is not what I'm saying. It's quite the opposite. Of course, we need to look at the situation very clearly, do what we can, absolutely protect ourselves, but we need to also stay present if we want to use the situation for our spiritual ascension, progression, awakening, or whatever that is. The tricky thing about these kinds of situations is that they will either allow you to ascend, to progress, or they will make you regress. And this is something that is completely up to you, or up to every person that finds themselves in the situation where we need to make a choice in midst of that situation to use the situation for our progression, instead of getting lost in fear, in drama, in catastrophic scenarios, in the suffering. and with that we regress. And one more thing that is crucial for you to be able to access grace in that kind of situation is letting go the need for understanding. And that is very crucial for the immersion process. So trying to make sense of it, trying to understand why it happened, why this person, not this person, is just, again, a way for the mind to get you away from this situation, to create that gap, to rob you of that presence. And sometimes we're just not meant to understand the situation, or if we are, that understanding will come by itself. But until it does, again, the way that you immerse in the situation is by going moment by moment with whatever is going on. I hope that resonated. I hope that helped. I hope that you found some valuable lessons within it, especially if you were a victim, or victim is not a good word, if you were a participant in that kind of event, or you will be. If you will be, then remember my words, and do not be afraid of what's happening right now in the world and what will be happening, because I assure you it will be for your highest good. But it is up to you to make sure that you use that opportunity for your highest good, and this is why I'm making this video. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for watching my first video on the channel, and there will be more. I really enjoyed this, and I'm looking forward to meeting my YouTube community. You can follow me on Instagram, Facebook. I offer my services there. I offer also some free materials for subconscious healing and rewiring. The details will be below the video. Thank you, and